direct conversation, some deep reactions, please. All this comics narration ain't late to me. A little more talk, a lot less read. A little fight, baby, is what I need. Close the trade, open up your brains. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me.
Thank you, Vandello, and welcome back to Rhett Conversations. My name is Josh Wasta, a.k.a. Fallout Fieri. And with me, got a theory. It doesn't matter. What can't we face if we're together? What's in this print that we can't weather? Age of Apocalypse. We've all been there. The same moon trips. Why should we care? It's Leia Cameron.
Oh my god. Hello, everybody. That took me out. I'm sorry.
And our guest for this week, Mr. Matt Hirth, returning back to us. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Sitting here with a couple sick cats and ready to talk about this book.
Yes. So, if you couldn't tell from the Buffy musical introduction, which technically breaks the 90s rule, but I'm fine with it, we are going to be talking about Fray, which is a comic book from Joss Whedon that was published from 2001 to August of 2003, and those dates will actually be very important for any fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer that are listening, because this is when season 5 through 7 was airing of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it will become apparent. Actually, it finished just before season 7 started to come out. But in doing that, before the show, since the three of us are all wrestling nerds, we were catching up. And last night, at the point that we're recording this, CM Punk came back to WWE. Why does this have anything to do with this episode? Well, CM Punk is kind of a divisive figure right now in wrestling. He's a dude who did a lot of good things. He supports a lot of great causes, but he's toxic as fuck in person. And in many ways, Joss Whedon's the same way. I have actually had some of my friends ask me, like, why I would even have any of Joss Whedon's stuff, and I wanted to address that. Bad people can do good things, push forward good causes, and still be bad people. I think it's important that we discuss that. Just real quick, I do want to go through, if anybody's not familiar with kind of what's happened with Joss Whedon. In 2017, his ex-wife ran an op-ed calling him a hypocrite, preaching feminist ideals, and said he had multiple affairs while using their marriage as kind of the shield to keep anyone from questioning whether or not he was a feminist. And then in 2020, everything kind of hit the fan with Whedon doing Justice League. Ray Fisher called Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of the Justice League gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. And then this was backed up by Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa. Later that year, Charisma Carpenter came forward saying that when she was pregnant and on Angel, Whedon asked if she was keeping her baby, and then when she did, wrote her off of Angel without telling her. And then in 2021, Michelle Trachtenberg revealed that she had found out that there was a rule on set barring her from being alone with Whedon. Soon after that, Sarah Michelle Gellar came forward in support of her co-stars. Since then, we have had a New York Magazine article that came out that talks about an incident that Whedon had grabbing a costume designer and dug his fingers in her arm until his fingernails imprinted on her skin. And that was about after an argument about Gellar's costuming for an episode of Buffy. And a writer on Firefly recalled how Whedon had mocked her for 90 minutes over a script he didn't like. So we're not in, like, a lot of the Me Too territory. Like, it's not rape, you know, but it's bad. It's not how you treat people. And since Whedon has all but kind of disappeared, he had a show that I can't remember the name of that was on Showtime, and then they bounced him after the first season. But yeah, if
I also want to
yeah.
remind the audience of one of his lesser crimes, surely not as serious as some of the aforementioned stuff, but he did do Age of Ultron.
Yes, which
I
which
forgot about that movie.
Leia has way more of a problem with than I do. But
Yes.
I would have said he's responsible for Alien Resurrection. But yes, before we get into this, I just want to remind the audience that yes, bad people can push good agendas. The agendas are still pushed, and then we can let go of the bad people. So yeah, I don't feel bad about rewatching Firefly or Buffy or Angel. Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog is still cool, but I'm not gonna.
I forgot about that entirely. Yeah,
I'm not gonna watch any new projects that involve Joss Whedon. Max Landis, another person like that. I really enjoy some of his stuff, but he's a creep. So moving forward, I'm not going to enjoy his stuff.
Period.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to go to Fray. And if this is anyone's first episode, sorry you came on such a heavy note. But this is how the show will work. I am the presenting professor, Professor J, and I will be taking Matt step by step through the plot of Fray, the 8-issue miniseries. If Matt has any questions or comments or whatever he wants, he can pull the emergency brake on the entire show and ask any question, make any comment. It falls to the assisting professor, Professor L, to answer that question or respond. If she can't or she needs a little help, she can throw it back to me. And since if neither of us have an answer, we throw up our hands, wiggle our fingers, and go comic books. All right, so we.
Oh no, I was
Yes.
going to say before we get in, full disclosure, I didn't know what this was before.
Yeah, no one did. That's the thing. No one did.
Okay.
I meant to ask. Thank you.
Literally the one thing I knew about it.
Is that no one knew?
Oh no, I knew it was Future Slayer. That is literally
Yes.
the one thing I knew about the book.
I had no idea, and it took me halfway through the book to realize what in the hell was going on.
Yep.
I read one issue when it first came out. That was it, and I read it because it was Future Slayer, and that's
Okay.
that is the only thing I knew about the book at all.
Yeah, like in concordance with this full disclosure, I don't know anything about Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Firefly or anything else. The only projects I've seen by Joss Whedon are Cabin in the Woods and Age of Ultron. That's it.
And the first Avengers.
And the first, and the first Avengers as well. But
Two of
that's
these we will
literally
still
it. So I have
enjoy.
no working knowledge of Buffy the Vampire Slayer other than it was a show on TV.
Okay.
So this will be fun.
Indeed. On the other side of things, I'm kind of a fanatic of that whole universe. Angel is by far my favorite, but I do enjoy me some Buffy. So it has though been a while, and I did have to do a little research to bring myself up to speed on some concepts and things. So, So we begin in a hellscape. A demon runs across lands covered in graveyards and weird statues to enter like a giant yawning stone face. That's like half in the ground. It goes down a bunch of stairs and next to a pit of bones. And the exposition is an earlier conversation that the demon had with someone else, saying she is discovered, no one has been called in 200 years, and the Watchers have found her as well. The demons have summoned Urkon to find and deal with her. And they reveal that the her that they're all talking about is Malaka Fray. We meet Mel as she's falling backwards off of a building, firing a laser pistol and holding a gold necklace. She's fleeing from two other men who are basically telling her just hand over the necklace and we'll be fine. As she's falling from a very tall height, she basically uses the flying cars that are there, Fifth Element style, like to stop her momentum one at a time. Which is not a great plan. Physics disagrees with everything she's trying to do. I mean, yes, it will slow your descent, but you are also hitting things on the way down, so you are expelling that force. So she basically hits like 3 flying cars and then smacks into the street. She doesn't hit the street hard enough to break anything, but it kind of rings her bell. The thugs who have somehow caught a really fast elevator or run down the stairs extremely quickly, catch up with her, and kind of her inner monologue is saying, okay, one of them is heavily modified. He has a lot of cybernetics, so the 2 areas that you can't get cybernetics in are the knees and the eyes. So she, like, buckles his knee back and then rakes his eyes. She grabs her laser pistol and fires it into the other dude's face. It doesn't kill him, but it does blind him. And then she explains that the 2 need to go back to their boss, stay on their own turf, or there will be a war. And then she, like, looks up, and there's a bus flying over her, and she catches the bus by... It's not specific, because it doesn't look like there's, like, a tractor beam. It literally looks like she jumps and flies into the bus. It is not drawn well.
No.
I mean, this is a Dark Horse book, right?
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, that happens in Dark Horse books.
Yes. Yes, it sure does. She goes to her boss, whose name is Gunther. Gunther is... It never actually says what he is. Only that... So, okay, the room that she goes into is like a waiting room. It's like got posters on the wall, it's got a couch, it's got a table with like a pot with flowers on it, but the entire floor is glass, and under that is water, and that's where Gunther lives. He's an underwater creature thing. My first instinct was underwater demon, but we'll find out later that's not quite right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's something. He kind of looks like a purple, who's the guy from BPRD?
I don't know.
The
I've
fish
never
guy,
seen it.
the fish guy from
Abe
boy.
Sapien?
Abe Sapien. He looks like a purple Abe Sapien. She takes the necklace to him. They discuss hazard pay, and he gives it to her. He gives her 3, what do they call them? Koi. COI. In addition to the 70 koi that she gets for the job. And this is like...
Free still.
Sill, right, which is 100 koi. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. So he hugely overpays her. She gets, she's leaving, and she's like trying to front, like, yeah, you're not going to get off as easy next time, being like, holy shit, he paid me a lot. And he's kind of gross about it, and he's like, well, next time wear a skirt.
Classic Joss.
It begins.
Right? She goes outside into the back alley, and she is met by what she calls lurks. They look kind of like mindless vampires. And for some reason, she freezes. She can't move. But before we can learn more, a spotlight comes from above, and a flying police car comes down to land. And the police arrive to question Mel about a robbery that happened. We also find out that the cop questioning her, Erin, turns out to be her sister. Erin is basically trying to convince her not to, be in a life of crime. Mel says she can handle herself, or take care of herself, and Erin responds, last I checked, you aren't good at taking care of anyone. There's a flashback panel of Mel running alongside a younger looking guy, but that's all we see. Mel calls Erin a bitch and walks away. Mel goes down to like an old apartment building, which I'm going to refer to this as the community moving forward. It was kind of the easiest name. It's like a shanty town, made of like rundown buildings and tents and cardboard.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those typical like post-apocalyptic sort of urban wasteland type places.
Yeah.
Okay.
she's greeted by a group of kids, but like one is like her favorite, and this one is named Lou. Lou is severely ADHD and and unmedicated. Like Lou describes the entire day in like a word balloon to Mel, and somewhere in there mentions that a man came looking for her.
Yeah.
And Mel is like, okay, focus in on the man. Tell me
Right.
about the man.
And
And
she's
Lou-
like, and I saw a dog, and then I had a piece of candy, and then I...
Yeah. It's great. It probably is one of the best kind of they never actually say ADHD, but it's probably one of the best examples I've seen of on page an ADHD child that is unmedicated.
Yeah.
So Lou gets back to like kind of talking about the short bald guy that was looking for her, and lo and behold, the man appears again. And he tells Mel that she's chosen and he is not worthy to come before her, and she will save them all. And then he covers himself in gasoline and lights himself on fire in front of her and the kids.
Totally normal. Totally normal.
Okay. That watcher did not do his job.
Yeah, not quite the meet cute we were hoping for.
No. Mm-mm. No.
Mel realizes that the homeless community is a bad place for fire, so tackles the dude off a pier and into the nearby river. She like comes out of the river. She's like, "That's it. I'm going home. I have had enough of today." And as she's walking into her apartment, there is a large red demon like skulking in the corner waiting for her. And that is the end of issue 1. Issue 2, she realizes that there is a large red demon, and she tries to get away from it, and it grabs her, and like kind of swings her onto her desk. So there's a big fight. The demon reveals himself to be Urkon, the demon that the other demons were talking about earlier. It's
Even
immune to
everybody's mother warned them about.
right? It's immune to bullets, but Mel's laser seems to at least stun it. Not for long, though, because Urkon tackles her and they go through her apartment wall and onto the street, where Urkon says he's not there to fight her. He was just trying to stop her from running away. He was sent to train and prepare Mel for the fight against the vampires. She has no idea what a vampire is. We find out very quickly that vampires in this world are called lurks. Those are the things that she saw earlier. The one in charge, or at least higher middle management, is called Icarus. Urkon is like trying to explain to Mel, like giving her the whole Watcher Slayer intro conversation, and she keeps calling it toy, Toy, which seems to be like fucked up in their language, in slang. I'm not going to say every time they say toy, but it's a lot. They're really going, they're really going for the making toy a thing.
Yeah, he's really trying to make fetch happen with this.
So Mel and Urkon have the Watcher Slayer intro conversation, complete with her saying she doesn't want to do it and to go find somebody else. Meanwhile,
so wait, hang on just a second. So Urkon does call them vampires, though, or do they not even use the word? Are we at like a near?
Urkon, nope. Urkon is the only one that calls the. Oh, sorry. This is Leia.
Yes, you're correct. He is the only one that calls them vampires.
Okay.
He also seems to be an anachronistic because he doesn't understand, like, why aren't you freaking out? I'm a demon. She's like, have you looked around? There's a lot of weird looking stuff around.
Right.
At one point he asks why she doesn't have a computer. And she's like, how do you not know? Like, the computer and the internet is for the uppers, the people that live in upper society. I do not live in that world.
Right.
I assume this will get explained later in the series.
No.
No, that's the thing. It's just part of the world is, like we never see the uppers. We never visit.
I apologize. I wasn't clear. Does it get explained why Urkon doesn't get this? Why he seems anachronistic?
No.
My understanding, the way that I got it, is when he was summoned by the other two demons and sent to Earth, he had not been there for 200 years.
So So if I'm reading this as a Buffy fan, my current takeaway is, so the Watchers are now demons?
That part will get explained.
Yeah.
Okay.
But why Urkon does not understand modern society, this world, is not explained. The best summation that I've gotten is you will find out what happened to the demons later, and he probably has not been on Earth since that event happened.
Okay, that's somewhat of an explanation, so I'll take it.
Yeah.
Also, random question, random snarky question. In that first issue, how many panels focused on her
face?
feet? Her feet.
Oh, feet.
None that I can recall, but I can go back and look real quick.
I'm flipping through it right now, and no. I mean, her feet are in panels where her feet should be, but
Right.
they're always covered by shoes.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's not like...
Because one of the few Joss Whedon transgressions you did not mention is that he became kind of notorious for his foot fetish.
Yes. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. He and Tarantino both.
Well, Tarantino I knew about.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, meanwhile, Erin is complaining to her partner about Mel. And this is just kind of a way to reveal some backstory. So Erin is one of 8 girls in the family, and 2 of them are already in jail. Mel is 19 and is headed that way. Back at Mel's, Urkon is like what I'm saying is true. You've known it forever. You've had the dreams. And she's like, what dreams? He's like, the Slayer dreams. She's like, never had a Slayer dream. So for one reason or another, Mel has gotten the strength of the Slayer, but has had none of the psychic preparation that we learned about in especially in season 5 of Buffy, or season 4 of Buffy, with the first Slayer and all that. She's had none of that.
Okay.
And then a drone arrives, and it's called a carrier, and it has a job basically for Mel. And this is where it's revealed that she doesn't have a computer, and that the uppers are have the internet, and they're down there. They're all low tech. And I have a note here that this means that this is not only a Buffy story; it also could be part of Johnny Mnemonic.
Okay.
Which means Henry Rollins is somewhere in this world.
I do enjoy any story that makes Henry Rollins a canon character.
Right? So Mel gets this carrier and goes to do a job, to which Urkon is like, no, but seriously, we need to train. There's a war. She's like, I need to eat. So she's mid-robbery when she's attacked by a lurk. She freezes up again, and it bites her and drinks some of her blood. And that's enough to kind of wake her out of her shock. And she beats the crap out of it, but she doesn't know how to kill it, because she doesn't know anything about vampires or lurks, really. Nobody in this world seems to know anything about lurks. So she realizes that she needs to learn more, because these lurks are going to keep coming for her. So she goes back to Urkon and asks, what is a Slayer? And that is the end of issue 2. Issue 3. Mel has a dream where the guy she thought of earlier dies. So the one panel of her running with a guy that her sister alluded to, we're getting a little more look at that. And they're running from a robbery that they have committed. And they it looks like this guy is going to fall off a building. Mel saves him, and then they are confronted by a vampire or a lurk on a rooftop, and that's when she wakes up, screaming. Urkon's right there, and he's like, hi, time to train. She's like, yeah, training later, but right now I gotta go and deliver this thing to Gunther. Also, talking to Urkon on their way, they talk about the Slayer dream, because he's like, no, but seriously, you've had the Slayer dream. She's like, no, I seriously have not. So he gives her the history of the first Slayer. And I have a note here for anyone that wants to follow up on this and is curious about the first Slayer. It's in season 4, episode 22, called "Restless" of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Mel and Urkon go to deliver whatever she stole to Gunther. While she's negotiating with Gunther, Aaron and the other cops are surveilling her from outside. The surveillance is not admissible in any courts. It is just for Aaron to confirm that she's a criminal. Mel settles up with Gunther, who overpays her again, and then goes with Urkon basically to like an abandoned train station to go train. And he's like, dexterity training. I will throw things at you, and you will dodge them. Because if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Question. Are
Yep.
they hinting at any suspicious or big reason why Gunther paying her? Is that a plot line that will get dealt
Yes, we will find that out in a short while.
with? Okay, I won't start asking questions then.
He throws a large piece of rebar at her that hits her in the face. So she asks for a timeout from training. And she basically wants to learn about the Slayers. And in kind of running through the history of the Slayers, like why they are, what happened, starting from like the beginning of the magic and the beginning of the world and all that stuff. Urkon does mention the Watchers. Mel is like, oh, so you're my Watcher. He very quickly and forcibly is like, no. And she's like, okay. She asks about the last Slayer, and he says the last Slayer was in the 21st century. There was a giant fight, and at the end of it, all demons and magic were gone from the world, and the Slayer was not seen again.
I don't remember the series finale of Buffy that well.
Well, it was not that.
Okay.
Yeah. And in fact, that is not the series finale. That is not what happens. And some of this is retconned in the Buffy season 8 comic books that came out after the show was done.
Which I owned but never read.
There you go. Well, and you'll see Fray in them.
Oh, okay.
So Urkon then says, okay, so another Slayer hasn't shown up for 200 years. You had this council of Watchers that had nothing to watch, nothing to do. So they all kind of went crazy, hence the guy who set himself on fire. Icarus apparently has the totem that Mel gave to Gunther, and is giving it to a faceless big bad. Things are apparently going according to the big bad's plan. So Mel has been working for Gunther, who is delivering these things to Icarus, who is delivering these things to the big bad. Mel and Urkon go back to her apartment, and Lou, the little girl, is in there hiding. She says someone in the town called her a freak and threatened to rip her arm off. Urkon is like, children can be cruel. And Mel's like, yeah, that's a 42-year-old man named Ketty Rawls. Yep. In conversation, we find out that Lou's parents run the tavern in the community. And it was Mel's brother who died in whatever keeps getting alluded to in the flashbacks that we're seeing.
Was it Lou's brother?
No, it was Mel's brother. Yep.
Okay, so so they have a bunch of sisters, and then
there was only one brother.
Right,
Yep.
only one brother.
They go to the tavern. Ketty shows up, basically hitting on Mel, and Mel's like, I'm so glad you're here, and starts a ball brawl, basically beating the crap out of him for making fun of a little girl. She gets thrown through the tavern wall, and when she stands up in the street, she is face to face with Icarus. That is the end of issue 3. Issue 4. We find out that Icarus is the same lurk that Mel and her brother ran into in the flashbacks. Mel freezes up again and relives what happened, which was they hit the roof. The lurk is there. Icarus basically throws her off a building while draining her brother. And she comes to basically still is frozen up, and Icarus is beating her senseless in the middle of the street. Urkon interferes, and Icarus runs away. and Mel basically passes out. Urkon reports to a couple of cloud-headed demons who are like, yeah, okay, these are demon heads in clouds. This is apparently some sort of like communication with the demon realm.
Ring, ring, demon phone.
So these are just clouds shaped like demon heads?
Yes. Yeah, kind of like, okay, so picture like in The Lion King when Simba is talking to his dad.
That's exactly where my head went.
Everything the light touches, Urkon. So Urkon is like lodging concerns about Mel. He's like, yeah, she's not really down with her destiny. And the demon heads are like, okay, no, we understand that. So we could just kill her and wait for the next Slayer to awaken then.
If that would be more convenient, like whatever.
Right.
Seems legit.
Yeah. Urkon is like, no, I can get her ready. It'll be fine. I'll do what I need to do to get her ready. And then the Cloudheads say, that's good, because the one who will lead must be stopped. Back at her place, Mel is all healed up. And she's talking to Urkon about Icarus and how he killed her twin brother, whose name was Hirth.
He was a twin brother, okay.
Yeah, yes. So it turns out that her only brother is her twin.
Yep,
neat.
And he's 20 minutes older than she is.
Okay.
She decides she's going to get answers about Icarus and goes to Gunther. But in her conversation with Gunther, he tricks her basically into admitting that she stole something, and the cops show up, tase and arrest her.
Her sister does this, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It is Aaron. On the way out, because they haven't handcuffed her, they're basically just carrying her by her arms because she was tased, I guess. The cops are assaulted by a bunch of lurks. And Mel wakes up out of the tasing and fights them off and protects her sister, who a lurk is going for. That is enough of a distraction that she gets knocked out and taken to the big bad, who is her twin brother Hirth.
Ooh, plot twist.
Done.
End of issue 4.
So wait, but the big bad is who drained her brother, right?
The
memory?
Yeah, so Icarus is the one who drained her brother, but we'll kind of get a little bit more into what happened there and how this happened in a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah, in fact, we're going to find out right now. Because Hirth is filling in her dots with his own exposition, and he reveals that when he was getting fed on, he knew he needed to drink Icarus's blood and become a vampire. It was his only way to live. As it turns out, he knows all about vampires and slayers and everything else because he's been getting the dreams his entire life instead of Mel.
Okay, now I'm going to pause you because I have watched Buffy. Did they ever resolve the Slayer's only female rule?
Nope.
Well, yeah, and this is what makes it kind of so. Like, I did know about that, and it's interesting because it's kind of implied that because the chosen one here was a twin, that the powers were kind of divided between them.
That's dumb, but okay.
It's Joss Whedon, man. I don't know what you want.
So they just decided that, okay, because they're twins, he can get the Slayer dreams and she gets the powers, and that's how we'll explain this?
Yes.
Okay. I guess.
Yeah, it's literally the picture of the guy in black and white going, I guess!
Right, exactly.
Did they... Okay, so Urkon and the demons who are not Watchers, they know how Slayers are supposed to work. Do they think this is weird?
They're not there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, go ahead, continue. I'm gonna be here in my television show fan. But go
ahead. This is the first time that that Hirth calls himself the one who will lead, and he beats the crap out of Mel. He does typical vampire stuff, like, because he still has the memories, but making you a vampire always makes you evil, because you don't have a soul. So he's like saying stuff that makes her, like, you let me die and all this other shit. He also reveals that the things that she's been stealing are for him to open the gateway to let all the demons back onto Earth.
Yay, Hellmouth.
Yes. As he's throwing her kind of willy-nilly around the room, she crashes through the floor and into the sewers. Icarus is like, is she dead? And Hirth is like, if she was dead, I could feel it. She's alive, but it's okay, because she's almost ready to prove my love. Which I don't know what that means, but it's gross.
Okay.
Aaron comes home after a long day of being a police officer, and Mel is in her apartment. Mel tells Aaron everything, and Aaron actually believes her. Well, kind of. She's like, you're nuts, but some of this makes sense. And it's also revealed at this point, which is kind of interesting, that the police have never really been given a standard operating procedure for what to do about the lurks. Like, if people start to ask too much, they're told, we have other things that we need to deal with.
So they just kind of accept that they're there and do nothing.
Right. Yes.
I could make all sorts of socially conscious statements right now. You can hear them all in your heads. We'll go there.
Yeah, in this, it's almost as if lurks are looked upon like not as vampires, but as like drug addicts.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're kind of like an underclass.
Yeah, like tweakers walking the streets. They're like, oh, there's the lurks.
Like, right, like there's another one of them. She's across the street. Let's not, he's going to ask us for money, sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah, I need to talk to my ombudsman to move these people to a different community.
Right.
So, as Mel's leaving, Aaron reveals that it was Gunther who called the police and set her up. So, not to trust him. And Mel's like, I don't trust anyone. So, Mel goes back to her apartment to find it completely trashed, and she kind of meets back up with Urkon there. She's cleaning up, and under some broken furniture is Lou's dead body. Her neck has been snapped. And importantly, it has not been drained of blood. This pisses off Mel to the point that she's like, all right, let's start a war. I'm going to move myself fully over to being a slayer now. This is bullshit. I'm done.
But she wasn't drained.
Correct.
Right.
She was just needlessly killed.
As a message, because one of the things that Hirth had told Mel is that he will kill everything she loves.
So basically, because the lead is a woman and not a man, instead of fridging a woman, or they fridge a kid. Got it.
Yep.
Absolutely. Like a kid who didn't hurt anybody, who was like 5 or 6.
Yep.
Okay.
Mel picks up Lou's body, walks through the community to the tavern, and basically gives her body over to her parents. Urkon has a pretty awesome voiceover. I should also mention that this is the beginning of issue 5, is her walking with this body. So I'm going to read this in its entirety because it actually not only ties a lot into the story, but it's an awesome kind of monologue. You do not want a war. You have known violence. You have suffered loss, but you have seen nothing of war. War is not just the business of death. It's the antithesis of life. Hope, tortured and flayed. Reason dismembered, grinning at its limbs in its lap. Decency raped to death. You will be a murderer, and more, you will be a leader. The Slayer fights most often alone, but in times of battle, she is called upon to lead. This will be hard for you, harder even than killing. You're hardly a part of the community, let alone a respected one. People will not listen, but you will make yourself heard. I have a gift for you. It's a weapon forged long ago, for the Slayer alone, lost for centuries. Carry it, for it is your sword and your scepter. Let it proclaim you the hero and the monster that you will need to be. Make your war. And this is when, the first time in all of Buffy history, that we first see the scythe, the axe that was used in season 7 of Buffy. This is the first sighting of it, because this comic, I believe, was when season 6 was happening.
Okay.
Buffy fans will be like, oh, that's the thing from later.
Yeah, and
Um,
I had no idea it had any particular significance. I was like, this is a comic book weapon.
Yes.
So,
So she walks back into the tavern with the scythe in her hand, and she basically starts warning the community that the lurkers are coming, and starts to try and be a leader and get them to be ready. They're not having it. On the other side, Hearth is basically giving Scar's speech to the hyenas from on top of the rock about being the one who will lead and how he is going to bring hell to Earth. Elsewhere, the demons who were in cloud form are actually in their hell dimension, discussing whether or not Hearth can actually complete the ritual since he's just a lowly vampire. And they kind of come to the assumption that it's possible because he is kind of part Slayer, and not just part Slayer, but kind of an abomination of the Slayer thing. Like, they never really counted on a dude having, especially being a vampire.
yeah.
They don't want the gateway open until they're ready, and they're out of time. So Mel will basically have to be their play. They're basically making their ruling that they don't have time to kill her and let another Slayer arrive.
Wait, so Urkon's people want this gate open too, just on their own time?
Because they're demons, yes.
Right.
Has Urkon told her this?
No.
Okay, neat. Okay.
Urkon has not mentioned anything about these two demons to Mel. Mel and Urkon are upping her training by basically finding nests of lurks and taking them out. So this is the training montage. Hearth gets that they're doing this in a report from a vampire and is basically like, okay, let's start getting ready. At the police station, Aaron is looking up stuff about lurks and about specifically Icarus, and she's starting to lose credibility in the police station because they're like, yeah, you're defending your sister, you lost your sister, and now you've got these crazy theories. Your sister's insane, and you're going to risk your badge by continuing down this line. Back with Hearth, he basically says, I really, really wanted to see Mel's face when the gateway opened, but Icarus, just go kill her, just bring me the body. I guess I'll live with my disappointment. Mel has basically drug a lurk in front of the community and kills it in front of them so it does its dusting thing. And she's like, see, it's not human. So you guys on board or what? And that's when Icarus shows up, and Mel realizes she's not freezing up anymore. And that is the end of issue 5. So the beginning of issue 6, we basically have the standoff between Icarus and Mel, and it's all gonna go down. They're trash talking each other, oh, I'm waiting, oh, it's gonna happen. And right before they start, Icarus asks, you really think you could put me down? What have you gotten besides a shiny new axe? And she says, I have faith. And they're about to go, and a car comes from the sky and crashes onto Icarus.
No. Are we? Tell me we're not, Josh.
No.
We're not getting. It's not actually faith, is it?
No.
Okay,
No.
thank God.
No.
I would throw my headset across the room.
No. In fact, the pilot of the crashed cab is Aaron, who gets out of the driver's seat and says, that's for my brother, dickhead. Aaron also basically tells Mel that she believes her and she's going to get whatever forces she can to help. We flash back to Hearth, who's basically still doing this ritual. He's basically, he's doing a ritual in front of a bunch of dead bodies to summon the demon plane. Back at the community's ready to fight. There isn't a lot of them, but there are some. Lou's parents join the fight, as does our good friend Kettle.
The one who threatened Lou.
Ketty, yes, who threatened Lou. But he's like, I wouldn't miss a good fight. And besides, I might be able to see you get killed.
Okay.
Urkon is like, this is going to be a massacre. And Mel's like, well, yes, but Hearth and I used to watch these old westerns, and there was in them always this idea of the last stand, and that she always really liked the idea of the last stand in a western. And then from off panel, Aaron is like, I always preferred the cavalry, and that's when we see that she has like basically a small force of cops with her.
Yeah.
In vehicles. And this is when the lurks attack. The fight is already going badly for Mel's side when a giant worm demon crashes through the buildings with Hearth riding it.
Interestingly, not unlike the Chaitori.
Truth. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Urkon basically says that the worm is called Malaka. It's the womb. Its womb is the gateway. So basically, it's filled with eggs that once they hatch, will be all the demons back to Earth.
Everybody's going to have a bad time.
Yes. Mel jumps onto a speeder bike that's being driven by Aaron, and they fly up because she's going to go confront Hearth. Unfortunately, Mel loses her grip on the bike and falls right into the demon's mouth, the giant worm demon's mouth.
This broad is always falling.
Yes. That is the end of issue 7. Now we begin issue 8, the finale of our series. So inside the creature's mouth, Mel is basically hacking away, trying to get to the creature's brain before its saliva dissolves her. Outside, Aaron goes to confront Hearth, who easily takes her out. He's about to kill her when Mel comes through the worm's head, killing it and closing the gateway. Because he's, basically aborted all of the demon's eggs, I guess. Hearth kisses her, and runs away.
Like kiss on the mouth?
Yeah, yes. Like a gross kiss on the mouth.
So not a brotherly kiss.
No. Very weird to see. I did not like it. 0 stars.
Yeah. The police start doing crowd control. And Mel goes to Gunther to track down Hearth. This is where Gunther's like, listen, I've been trying to help you subtly. Like, I can't just tell you that you were working for the big bad. So I overpaid you to make you suspicious. When it was obvious that, like, the bads were coming for you, I called the cops so maybe you would be safe in jail for a little bit. Like, I was doing everything I could to save you.
So I hope that answers your earlier question.
Do we know why, though?
Because he's genuinely kind of a good dude. He likes her.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's his best thief.
Right. She's employee of the month.
Yes.
Okay.
Like 9 years running.
Right. And this is when Mel puts everything together. She is actually there talking to Gunther with Urkon. And she basically says, Lou wasn't drained of blood. Lou couldn't, or a vampire can't enter without being invited.
Oh no, Urkon killed her.
So Urkon did it. And Urkon basically says, we would have lost if I didn't make you angry.
He's Coulson.
Yeah, kinda. He takes an extra step that Coulson wouldn't take, though.
Yes, but the analog is clear.
Yikes.
Mel also puts together that the several times that she has fallen in water, Urkon has never helped her, like given her a hand to help her up, but when she falls other places, he did. So she deduces that he probably can't swim. So she cracks the glass under them, starts drowning him. He breaks through like this other window that's underneath because it's kind of like an aquarium. And she takes the axe, the like stake side of the axe, and puts it through his head, and basically says, "I'll kill you quickly." And the wrap up is that the Cloud Demons are kind of, I call them the Cloud Demons, but the demons are discussing the end, saying they still have 2 pieces on the board for the future. They still have Hirth and Mel, even though Mel has become much more dangerous since she's fully taken on the Slayer mantle. And we see Mel basically doing the crouching on a building out jut with the axe in her hands, surveying her city, Batman
very,
style,
very Batman. Yeah, very Batman-esque.
with a pair of Converse on.
Okay.
And that is the end of Fray.
And Hearth just disappears into the night,
Yes.
Yep.
never to be seen again because the series did not.
Basically.
To be seen again in part of Buffy season 8, the comic.
Well,
There's a whole 3 to 4 issue arc.
that takes place in the future.
Yes.
Okay. I guess that's fair.
Which, I mean, if you already have it, I would suggest reading it. It is fun. Basically, the reason that it's Buffy and Fray meeting up because Buffy travels to the future because of shenanigans. And Hearth is being helped by Dark Willow. So,
I mean, I love me some Dark Willow, so
yeah.
I don't have it anymore, but I'm sure I can. I'm sure it's available digitally somewhere.
It is. Dark Horse,
Yep.
So, yeah, how did we do explaining Fray?
I feel like I got a pretty good feel for it. I feel like you saved me a lot of time and probably some wasted time. It doesn't sound spectacular.
It was when I was watching Buffy. Especially since it never, like Leia said, it never said it was a Slayer in the future when it came out.
Yeah, and so again, having never watched the show, I mean, I watched the movie when it came out, prior to the show, but that was a totally different thing other than the vague concept being similar, as far as I understand.
Yes.
And so, as for somebody who like me, who has really no I know the show exists and that is it. Like I said, I got halfway through and I was like, wait a fucking minute, is this a Buffy comic? So and I'm sure there was a lot of stuff in there I just straight up missed or didn't understand because I am not a fan of the show.
Right.
And there's probably details in there that, fans would be like, ooh, cool, or, oh, that's the explanation for this, or whatever. Where for me, I was just, I had to take it at face value and be like, this probably is some part of the lore, so,
Right.
if you're not a fan of the show, this isn't going to make a ton of sense to you, honestly.
So it was a lot of inside baseball then? You needed, it's not, is it hurt if you don't know the show then?
I think it helps. I don't think it's impossible to understand if you don't know the show, but I think it definitely helps. You're going to get a lot more out of it than you would if you, like me, had no knowledge of the show and other than it exists. I was like,
yeah,
oh, this is a Buffy comic and from the future. Neat, I guess.
Yeah, I would compare it to watching the Marvels without having watched Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, or trying to watch like Multiverse of Madness without having watched WandaVision.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a good example too. It
Okay.
it adds some backstory to it and some interest, but it's not 1000% necessary.
Got it. So how as the Buffy fan, how did you like it, Josh, after now that you're not so much into Buffy anymore?
So, like I said, this came out 2005. Was it hold on. 2008. 2001 to 2003. I did not read this until it came out. My friend Amanda gave it to me in 2005, but I also had not watched season 7 yet. So I kind of watched it in the correct order. You'd want to read this probably between season 6 and 7, because the axe especially comes into play a lot in season 7. And then, I mean, it was kind of cool at the time. I'm like, okay, Future Slayer. And then I enjoyed season 7 a little bit more because the axe shows up and you're like, oh, hey, it's that thing from the comic.
Right.
And then there's a lot of stuff in the comic later, the Buffy comic later, when they continued the seasons in comic book form, that the Scythe has a lot to do with the Slayer history and everything else. So they kind of use it as a jumping point. So I like it as, like, you know, an extra thing, but it's not necessary.
Okay, so it's not bad.
Right. No, it's I have you seen The Good Place?
Of course.
Okay. So in that there's the line, there's something very human about taking something perfect and ruining it just a little bit so you can have more of it. That's this.
Okay. That's a great line.
It is, and it goes for a lot of things in all of my hobbies and everything else.
I mean, we are all MCU fans here, so we get it.
Yeah. Yeah, truth. But yeah, that was Fray.
Yeah, I don't feel like I missed a ton not reading it. I think I probably got more enjoyment out of talking about it.
Yeah, me too.
And given that it is a Joss Whedon book, I'm not terribly inclined to go seek it out to read it.
Sure.
Although I might do Buffy season 8 because that is a story I cared about.
Yeah, that's got some fun stuff. Angel After the Fall is also really good, that comic. Yeah, I mean, Whedon's done some good comic book runs. I always will say that if you want some amazing comic book whiplash, the Astonishing X-Men run that Whedon did for 2 years, and then it was taken over by Warren Ellis. So if you really want to see some writing styles clashing, watch Warren Ellis trying to continue Joss Whedon's stories.
Was it Joss or Warren Ellis where Beast turned into a big kitty cat?
It was Joss.
Okay.
Warren had to deal with it.
Okay. Like I can't. It's been so long. I couldn't remember when he turned into the Cowardly Lion looking guy.
Yep. Joss was also Kitty Pryde stuck in a giant hollow bullet traveling through the universe. It's fun. It's not great, but it's fun.
Right.
Well, thank you. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I didn't know about the Kitty Pryde and the bullet plot. So
Oh, man. Yeah.
That almost sounds like a whole other episode of your other podcast.
Oh no, it would be this one. I can explain all of Astonishing X-Men. That's a great 2-part episode. We'll start with Joss Whedon and then go to Warren Ellis.
Just occasionally hear me screaming in the background.
Yeah. I'm fairly sure they do travel to the moon several times.
God damn it.
There are no clones that I can remember, though.
All right, fine.
Man, someday we're going to have a story that has clones and the moon, and it's going to be the best.
It'll be called Moon Clones.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. This was a blast.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Yeah, we might see you next season for some X-Men fun, which obviously I will be presenting because Leia won't.
Because I quit.
I am always happy to come back for something.
Well, and I want to prepare the audience for our very special episode that we have not recorded yet, but we just have planned. And that is a friend of the podcast that we've always discussed, Adam Witt, will be coming on. And as a twist, he has been given the task of explaining a Fantastic Four story that I don't hate. Because other than Superman, I feel that the most overrated superheroes are the Fantastic Four.
Like how is that? Nobody likes them.
He loves them.
Adam Witt loves them. He loves them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so he is going to come on the show with a graphic and explain it to us so that we will like the Fantastic Four.
And I mean, I do like nice Jewish boy Ben Grimm. He's good.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, Johnny Storm, there are enough pricks in Marvel.
Yeah.
You know?
Put some back.
Yes, I believe we kind of said how we felt about Johnny Storm when he was assaulted in Civil War and put into a coma, and Leia just said, "Good."
And he was not missed by anyone.
So yeah, tune in for that. That's going to be interesting. It's going to be a really fun episode. Kind of a twist on what we've done before. But until then, take it away, Vandello.
A little wreck conversation, some deep reactions, please. All this comics narration ain't me. A little more talk, a lot less read. A little fight, baby, is what I need. Close the trade, open up your brains. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me. Vandello 2021.